Welcome to Levels for Guitar. My name is Jason Earnhardt, guitar instructor in Rockwall, Texas for over 20 years. And my aim is to take that experience and package it together in the form of a website so that you can learn guitar from home. About 10 years into teaching, I put together these packets for study. And when the student would show up to their first lesson, I'd give them all the materials that we'd be working on over the course of that year. And the goal of these packets was to get them out of beginner and into intermediate as quickly as possible. This was a time saver because I didn't have to keep writing the same notes over and over again. And it worked for the student as well because highly motivated students would look ahead and finish a year's worth of content within months. Later on, I decided to post these packets online with video for my local students. And that way I didn't have to keep printing these out. I could just give the URL to the student and they could learn those packets online. Well, it later occurred to me that others were getting a hold of these packets. And I knew because students were showing up to their first lesson with these packets memorized. On the first day, they had the fundamentals of guitar technique and music theory memorized. From day one, we were able to get into songs and learning more advanced material because they had already memorized those fundamentals. And that's how I knew that learning guitar from home online worked. So I partnered up with a longtime friend, Chris Harris, who's the webmaster, and we put together this website, Levels for Guitar. And what we mean by levels is that you're going to learn guitar level by level by level. No gaps in the learning process. Unfortunately, I'm finding that a lot of these learning resources are full of gaps. It's as if the editor wanted to save money, take out a few pages, put a cover on it, and sell it to you. So you're moving from page 1 to page 2 to page 3, okay, but then when you get to page 4, you're lost because something is missing. It's as if they left out an entire volume of content. Well, to give you an idea of how Levels for Guitar is set up, we have 100 videos in the beginner section alone. And each of those videos are equivalent to what you would get in a 30-minute guitar lesson with me here at the studio. So it's very gradual. It's very step by step, level by level. You're not going to get lost in the process. Now, for those of you who might have learned guitar in the past, that might seem slow. But for those of you who are dead beginners and you've never touched a guitar before, it's perfect because you don't have to worry about getting lost along the way. Now, what makes Levels for Guitar different, of all things, is, well, we actually teach you how to play the guitar. Now, when you go online and you want to learn how to play a song on YouTube, that's what you're going to learn. You're going to learn how to play the song. But that guitar instructor is not going to teach you the fundamentals of guitar technique or theory. They're just going to show you what notes to push, what notes to play. They might show you a little bit of how to strum them, but they're not going to get too heavy into technique, ergonomics, fretting hand alignment, all the things needed to become an efficient guitar player. And so that's what I am focused on. I'm not focused on teaching you how to play a song. I'm focused on getting you the technique required so that you can go on YouTube and learn those songs more efficiently. Now, I know many of you have been to guitar lessons where Rock and Roll Joe with the tattoos and mullet will rip out some awesome guitar lick. And it seems like they're more interested in impressing you than they are teaching you. And many times they do this as a crutch because they don't know really what to do with a beginner student. They'd much rather have a student who's experienced so they can go straight to teaching you songs and more complicated things. And that's another thing that Rock and Roll Joe likes to do is on your first lesson ask you, so what's your favorite song, dude? And you get all excited thinking you're going to learn your favorite song, but you haven't learned the steps required to learn that song efficiently in the beginning. And this is where Rock and Roll Joe falls flat. And that's because he spends his whole life performing. He's a professional performer, not so much an instructor. I've been teaching guitar for over 20 years as a full-time instructor, and so that's what I do. I know the steps required to get you to the point to learn those songs. And for that reason, I'm very much technique-centric rather than focused on songs in the beginning stages. I'm not going to use popular songs to teach you how to play the guitar. I think anyone who does this is only holding you back. And I only say this because there's so many things that you can do before pushing a single note, much less playing an entire song. So for example, holding the guitar. There's a way to hold the guitar that's going to make an immediate impact on your playing before you push a single note. You're going to learn how to leverage the guitar to benefit you rather than work against you. 2, understanding the anatomy of the picking and fretting hand. Good fretting hand alignment is going to have an immediate impact. Just understanding that a straight wrist is a strong hand and a bent wrist is a weak hand is going to help you when pushing notes on the guitar. And then later on, we graduate into pushing single notes, and we do this through scale technique. I think it's important to learn scales. And so there we learn how to properly push a note. There's a lot that goes into this. Where to position the thumb, curving the fingers, keeping the wrist straight, playing close to the fret. All these are things that you can do before pushing a single note. And if you don't know this and you go into learning songs, you're only making things more difficult on yourself. But once you can learn how to play a single note, then you can graduate into playing several notes at the same time when playing chords. And now we're getting closer to learning songs because chords are needed to play the harmonies for songs. But there's more than just playing chords. You got to be able to strum those chords. And so understanding how to count rhythms and how to properly strum is going to benefit you before playing your favorite song. And then finally, we tie all this together by understanding how music works, and that's where music theory comes in. I can't tell you how many guitar players do not know the notes on their guitar, and that only holds them back because not only can they not communicate with other musicians, they can't be communicated to through other learning resources. So it's all these things together before learning songs, which is the philosophy here at Levels for Guitar. So in closing, it doesn't matter whether you're a metalhead, classical guitarist, country player, or a jazz player, or you're still trying to figure it out. All guitar players will benefit from the fundamentals of guitar technique and music theory. I find that students who make it through the program, the beginner program, can easily branch off into whatever style that they want to. And that's because they can understand the resources, whether it's on YouTube or some other book or another guitar instructor. You have those fundamental tools that you can work off of. All right, well, I got to get to work on your first lesson, so I'll see you there in Level 1.